Hi, I'm Jessica Reese. This is my EDL 853 Module 3 interview for special education. The administrator I used was our school superintendent slash pre-K through 6 principal. The paraprofessional was an older woman, and the special ed instructor, we actually don't have one right now. We're between them. And so I actually used a master's student who's going to graduate with their special ed master's this fall. So in the first question about child find procedures, the administrator described it very well, knew exactly what I was talking about, and said child find procedures are the part of IDEA that requires school to put into place a system for identifying students that don't yet have an IEP. That would be our SIT process and other screening systems. The idea is for the approach to be systematic rather than reactive when identifying a student in need. For example, our system catches students in need rather than just waiting for the teacher to say we have a major problem. And then if they start with at risk, and then if they are qualify with additional testing, then they end up in the SPED program on an IEP. The paraprofessional had never heard of that term before. The special ed instructor has never heard the term before, but knew what I was talking about and knew that system, and much of what the administrator said that she'd never heard of them, child find procedure, but if you're talking about how to identify students with special needs, we have a preschool screening and SIT programs to identify students. Second question, what do you find to be the most challenging part of your role with regards to special education and why? The administrator said the hardest part was finding good staff that's qualified. There's a teacher shortage across the state, but especially in SPED. We might find a teacher that's qualified, but only knows how to handle IEP paperwork and are really below average with students and staff. Or they'll find someone who's not qualified at all, or usually still working on their degree, who loves kids but just has no idea how to do the whole job. And they rarely find somebody who knows how to do both, and then pairs are even harder to find and keep. The special ed instructor said they find it hard to find the best motivation for each student and the best course for their learning because each child is so different and the situation they're in is so different. The paraprofessional kind of said the same thing as special ed instructor. Every student learns in a different way, and there can be times when you're helping several types of learners at one time, and that can be stressful, especially since pairs don't really get a planning period to help figure out ways to help students learn. What is the most rewarding part of your job? Administrator said these students will take up a much larger percent of your time than the average regular education student, which makes them have a special place in your heart. You're spending so much more time with you. However, them succeeding will be more rewarding because you're closer to them. The pair said the best or most rewarding is when you're working with a student and all of a sudden you can tell that they understand it, what you're teaching is working. And the special ed instructor, I enjoy seeing the students find something that they can be successful in. Many times these students do not think they can do well in school because they don't like bookwork, but they excel in classes where they can work with their hands. What advice do you have on supervision of special education staff, including para, speech pathology, etc.? Administrator, follow up often and support them as much as you can. It's a hard job. Your teachers are on the front line and need support. The special ed instructor, be sure that students are being assisted and not just having their work done for them, and that students are being pushed to their best effort and they're actually trying. The paraprofessional said to remember that paras may not have teaching degrees, and however they may not be teaching students, they're helping them to understand what's being taught. And in some cases where a student cannot participate in the regular classroom, they're teaching them subjects at a level where they can best understand it. It says that please treat us with mutual respect and don't look down on us as merely school babysitters. How do you work effectively with parents, especially needs children? Administrator had a simple saying, I've never been sued by a happy parent. It's important to be transparent with all parents, but with added weight of IEP laws, your SPED parents have more needs. While it might seem simple, I just make sure that they understand that every choice we make is what we feel is best for their student, and any reasonable accommodation will be made if needed. Also, make sure you call them and let them know if something happens. Communication is key there. Paraprofessional, they really don't have much contact with the parents. They were asked in on a few IEP meetings, but mostly they don't contact the parents. They don't talk to them at all. They just talk to the student. Special ed instructor, I find that the biggest thing biggest thing is communication, not just how much, but the way that you communicate. For example, I like to start every conversation with something positive their child is doing, then move into improvements they can make, and end on a positive note as well. This allows the parent to feel like they are not under attack when they walk in. While they know their child especially is they want to feel that they do things well, that everybody likes positively, and it helps them let down their guard. So furthermore, when you have suggestions, they're more open because their student isn't just a problem. How do you work with regular ed teachers with students with special needs? The administrator, all teachers just want what's best for the students, or at least they should. That is the approach I take when the battle between regular ed and special ed takes place, which it will. Oftentimes both sides feel the other side is not doing enough to meet the students' needs. This is the special education teacher's job, or vice versa, is the conversations you hear. I like to set my expectations earlier with this relationship. I see special education as a support system for the regular ed setting, and to that end, I expect the SPED teacher to assist in making accommodations and lesson plans for their students. It is not their job to write IEPs and then supervise the classrooms teachers carrying them out, but it is a partnership in the best interest of the student. This comes down to communication, seeking input from both sides to best meet the needs of the student. The special ed instructor, it depends on the student. For some of them that struggle getting assignments in, have the student take the paper to the teacher every day to write the assignment down for them, and then sign off student did the previous assignment. I provide the teachers with the IEP snapshot and answer any questions that they may have and provide ideas of how to better help their students. The para, so the day before school starts is our only work day to prepare for the year. We find out our students, their needs and schedules. I then visit with the teachers and discuss how I like pairs to work in their class. What advice do you have for a first-year administrator? The administrator said it's more general and brief, but when in doubt, walk about. There will be times that you're not sure what you should be doing at a given time. You're always doing the right thing. When you get up, leave the office, and visit classrooms to watch students and teachers. Not always as an evaluator, but just as someone interested in what's going on in the school. The more you're seen, the better people will feel like you are doing your job as an administrator and being present. The special ed instructor said ask questions as many as you need, trust your people, and they should be the most experienced in their position. Para, listen and learn, don't make loud changes at once or all at the beginning unless you're taking over because change is needed to be made. How do you describe the role of special ed teacher and the building principal? The administrator said most of the time you will work with your special ed teachers that are provided to you from a co-op or an interlocal. That adds an extra layer of issues. If they're not performing to your expectations, oftentimes you might find removing them to be nearly impossible. With that in mind, make sure you offer clear expectations and as much support as you can. Most teachers just want to know that you have their back regardless of what discipline they work in and make sure you support them. The para said SPED requires a lot of paperwork just like the principal. SPED teachers and principals have several things in common that regular teachers do not. Extra paperwork, working with parents, and dealing with the students who have the harder learning and emotional disabilities. The special ed instructor said I think they should work together to figure out what is best for each student. I think they should also feel comfortable talking to their principal for any issues that may arise and know that they have their administrative support. What characteristics do you seek in aspiring administrators with regards to special education? Our administrator said I look for knowledge of the law and being patient when dealing with the students, staff, and parents. You need to care about kids all the time, but especially those with higher levels of need. Understand that many times you are a student's last line of support, and oftentimes high-need students have needs parents. The special ed teacher said don't judge the kids on their disability and challenge them to be the best they can be. The para said treat our department as you would regular education. Our students just want to fit in and have the same problems that other regular students do as well as their special needs. And I added my own question. This is, what is something you wished you knew about your special education before starting your position? Our administrator said he wished he knew how many meetings he'd have to be in, as both the building admin and district LEA. I go to a lot of IEP meetings. The special ed instructor, I wish I would have known how hard it is to get people to an IEP meeting and all the paperwork that goes into writing an IEP. The para said I wish I had been better prepared for some of the challenges of the profession, both mentally and physically. So those were my interviews about special ed. I had a very interesting and diverse group of answers, especially in regards to the difference between the para and the administrator. But I think everybody had the same idea of just making sure that even though they're special needs, we're putting the students' needs first and helping them.